Okay, so raise your hand if you have ever counted either calories or macros and you have been left feeling either completely defeated, burnt out, frustrated, starving, or like you just weren't nourished or cut out to continue living in that fashion. Listen, I know I'm going against the grain here, and everywhere we turn, someone is shouting from the rooftops about calories in, calories out, macronutrients. Where do you get your protein? Are you eating enough protein? And you can eat whatever you want as long as it fits into your macros. And I'm sorry, but if you're dealing with a chronic health condition, chronic pain, fatigue, gut dysfunction, migraine, these things are not going to work for you. At the end of the day, macros and tracking numbers like a crazy person, and trust me, I've been there. I've been down that road, on that train, putting everything into MyFitnessPal, but it did not help me get any better. And most women are out there trying to do all of the right things and keep their nutrition under such tight control. And at the end of the day, it's only adding more stress. They can keep up with it for a little bit and then they fall off the wagon. And if you've been there, you know that that only leads to feelings of shame and like you failed yourself again. And honestly, that's no way to live your life. You've got enough to deal with. You shouldn't have to micromanage every calorie that goes into your body. And here's where we run into issues. There are so many great looking people out there that are very physically fit that are talking about nutrition. And yes, they might be onto something when it comes to a strictly physique situation. You've all seen the guy that's like eating donuts and he's got a six pack. I don't know if it's like V-Shred or something like that. And that all sounds great, but my goal here is to work with women to improve their health, not just their fitness. Whether you're working with me from a chronic healing position with migraine, gut dysfunction, or chronic pain, or you're working with me from a fitness perspective, everything is more than just physique. My fitness side of the business, my motto is fitness is more than physique, because what should truly matter is our health. And if you watched the last video, I shared a little bit of my story. You can be in fantastic physique, have an amazing physical shape, and still have a terrible quality of life, health that seems to be failing you at every turn, biomarkers off the charts, liver enzymes that are off the rails, healthy from an internal perspective. And we often get those things confused. But what these gurus and influencers are missing, especially because they're not working with people to solve chronic conditions, to help them reduce their pain. They're working to track macros, track calories, and see the scale tip a little bit, right? And that's not the goal here for most of us, okay? Especially if you're watching this video, you know that there's more to life than that. We want to get our time with our kids back. We want to be able to enjoy being able to go out without worrying about a flare, without having to take our medication with us everywhere. I used to have a little migraine pack, and I would have my sumatriptan, I would have my Nurtec, I would have my ginger, electrolytes, ashwagandha, peppermint oil, all of the things. And if I left the house without it, I would be petrified all day because I knew eventually a migraine was going to hit. I had near daily migraine attacks in some form. They weren't always super severe, but that's how I lived my life when I was following an If It Fits Your Macros nutrition plan. I want to give you a little bit of an analogy. When we look at calories and macronutrients, these are like the gasoline to your car. You have to put them in. The car needs gas to run, but it's just energy. It's fuel. The other piece that we need is oil. And we need the right type of oil for our car. And these, my friend, are the micronutrients, the vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, which is in all the brightly colored foods that most of us are under eating. fiber, which 95% of Americans are not getting enough of. We know this leads to improved gut health, and we know that that leads to improved health throughout the body. So when we're only looking at macronutrients, we're only looking at a very small picture when it comes to nourishment. When we're on a healing journey, we need to be focused on these micronutrients for cellular repair, for energy production. Each cell uses vitamins and minerals and antioxidants, and we need those to help them run effectively, help them clean up. Minerals are like the spark plugs of the body. It makes shit happen, excuse me, but that's how it works. If we are not providing our body with adequate minerals and vitamins, then the car is going to break down, aka our bodies, in some way, in some fashion. Now, a lot of people look at genetics, and we've been intertwined in this marketing and belief that most things are caused by genetics. And I want to shed some insights. This is a rabbit hole for another day, but there's an entire field of science called epigenetics. And what's amazing is that epigenetics research shows that only 5 to 10% of all chronic conditions are solely genetic. So what does this mean? It doesn't mean that it's your fault, but what we should be looking at is the empowerment that this gives us, because it means that we do have some control. If only 5 to 10% of all chronic conditions, whether it be autoimmune disease, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, all of these things, that means the rest of it is environmental and what's in our food and our exposures, which we have control over to a majority of the extent. We can't control everything. Maybe you have a job that you really can't get out of, and there's a lot of environmental exposures that, in other situations you would like to avoid. All right. Maybe there's a situation with food and food shortages. We can't always control everything, but the reality is we have a lot more control than we've been led to believe, which is amazing. It's empowering and it's super exciting. And I love to share this information because it means that we're not stuck in these broken bodies. Our body is not failing us. It is speaking to us, and it is designed to heal, but it does need support. So at the end of the day, we really need these building blocks, the micronutrients, to help restore and repair. If we don't have them, we're not going to make a whole lot of progress. Why gut health is important as well. Why even starting with how we chew our food can help us maximize the amount of nutrition we're actually receiving from any given meal. When a lot of us think about eating healthy, we often equate that to dieting, right? We think if we are eating salads or fruit and vegetables and all of these things, we must be on a diet, right? And that is just so crazy to me. And I used to think that as well, like I want to eat a pizza or I want to eat a burger, whatever. And it's just so interesting how over time, when you really think about the things that are nourishing your body and the things that you want to put into your body, how differently you look at things. So eating to nourish your body is not the same as dieting. And this is a paradigm shift that really needs to happen because there are so many foods out there that we consider food, but are really things that humans shouldn't be eating at all. And that's not to say that I don't ever have some of these things. I do, but my decisions, the majority of the time, are to put things into my body that are going to make me feel good. I'll be honest, the other day I was craving avocado toast. I made homemade gluten-free bread for my little guy, and I had bought some fresh avocados. They were just starting to get ripe. It was a little too early. And I had that instead of my fruit and veggie smoothie that I typically have every single day because it gives me energy. It makes me feel good. I feel good actually consuming that in the morning. And I had 2 slices of avocado toast with some tomatoes and onions. And I'll be honest, I felt sluggish. I felt so tired, and it was delicious when I ate it. And afterward, I was like, you know what? I don't love how I felt eating even something as simple as a colorful avocado toast. And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, well, maybe I really learned my lesson here, and it's not about not having something I wanted. I had it, but next time I'll probably make a different decision, because I would rather feel good, both physically and mentally, about my food. And I wasn't feeling guilty. I didn't think I had something bad. It's not about good foods or bad foods. It's about choosing foods that love you back, that make you feel good. And maybe you're somebody that avocado toast makes you feel fantastic, and that's fantastic for you. For me, I'm like, meh, I could probably do without the heaviness and the fat in the morning, the processed bread, even though we made it. I would rather have something that I feel energized, I feel light, I feel clean, and I know is packed with vitamins and minerals. And I can have a big ass smoothie and not feel guilty about it, because I know that I have a smoothie that's loaded with fiber, that's loaded with antioxidants, that's loaded with vitamins, minerals, other micronutrients. So I don't restrict how much I eat. Sometimes when we eat these other things, we do need to restrict, whether it be we know that it's blatantly unhealthy, we know that it's not a neutral food, or if you're looking at it from a weight and fitness perspective, we know that the amount of caloric energy going into that is not going to help serve us on our mission. And again, I do not track calories at this point in time. I do not track macronutrients. I do not plan on doing it. I will never say never and say I won't do it in the future. But my goal is to focus on eating foods that I love, that make me feel good, and that are loaded with nourishment. And I have no need or desire to track calories and macros, because I have a confident, healthy relationship with food. And that's what I work with women on in the Vitality program. I want to return to something that I touched on earlier, and this is that macronutrients and calorie consumption does not equate to adequate nutrition. Just because we are filling our macro bucket doesn't mean we're getting enough actual nutrition. And when we're on a healing journey or even a fitness journey, this is really, really important, because food is information, and we can either give our bodies really fantastic information that helps it thrive on a cellular level, or we can give it mediocre information, or we can give it pretty crummy information, right? We can stick things into it and say it fits my macros, that's fine, but then what gets relayed is subpar information to the rest of the system. We get a liver that ends up being bogged down. And this is something that I am super passionate about. Nutrition for liver health is imperative, especially if you're dealing with something like chronic fatigue, migraine, chronic pain, and even some gut dysfunction, because a lot of people don't realize the liver is actually involved in digestion. It's involved in blood sugar regulation, hormone balancing, and these two things in particular are huge right now. They're huge buzzwords, and they are highly misunderstood. So if you want proper blood sugar regulation particularly without micromanaging the calories and the carbohydrates that you consume, and you want hormones that are balanced, we need to be focusing on nutrition for liver health. We'll dive into that on the next video, but we're going to talk a little bit about that and some of the myths that come up when it comes to nutrition. But it is imperative that we support this organ, as well as our immune system, our nervous system, and our digestive system, because when all of these things function properly, we can get the nutrition that we need to the cells. We can start to repair, get rid of the bad, get rid of the old, and replenish, right? The body starts to heal in its own time, and that is the ultimate goal. So right now I'm going to offer you some simple wins, some things that you can implement that are free or very cost effective, and that you can add into your daily life. And this doesn't have to be anything extreme, or maybe you choose one thing to focus on. maybe instead of doing everything this week, you do one thing a week or one thing a month. And that, my friend, will move the needle, because it's not about perfection, it's about consistency. And what healthy habits can you implement on a day-to-day basis that makes sense for you as well as your family if you have one? Because I know I have 2 young boys and a husband, and they don't always eat what I eat. And sometimes I don't want to make 2 meals. So how can we make things simple? So shift number 1, we are going to focus on adding before we remove. Oftentimes, practitioners and coaches will have you just remove everything that they don't deem to be fit in the diet. And there are certain things that I believe absolutely should be removed. However, I don't start there, because I don't want you to hate your life, right? We want the things that we enjoy. And when we just take things away, it leads to a feeling of deprivation and restriction. And what we want is to feel empowered and like we're coming from a place of abundance. So if you're going to do anything, we want to add things that are nourishing. And maybe this looks like you're adding adequate hydration. Maybe you don't drink enough water. Maybe you feel like you need more electrolytes. Now, I'm not a huge fan of electrolyte packs, powders. I'm not here to push supplements. If you're going to focus on electrolytes, I've got some tips, and I'm going to talk about that next. But coconut water that's not pink or red. Adding coconut water can be huge, even if it's just like a cup a day, 8 ounces a day. When it comes to adding other foods, add 1 leafy green a day. Really take a look at what you're eating every single day and be honest with yourself. Is it ultra processed? Is it high in fat? Take a look at what you're eating every single day and really be honest with yourself. Is it mostly ultra processed food? Is it mostly, restaurant food or takeout? Is it ultra high in fat? What are we looking at here? How many nutrient dense foods are we getting? How many of those dark leafy greens? How much fruit are we getting? And this isn't about a complete overhaul, but add one thing. Can you add 1 leafy green to your day? Can you add 1 berry or fruit that you enjoy a day? And we are going to add in before we take away. And you can add more than 1 thing. And what you might see happen over time is that the health promoting foods that are full of those micronutrients, as you feel better, you're going to start crowding out the things that don't serve you. And it won't be restriction, because you're naturally choosing the things that are going to help you thrive. Okay, so shift number 2 can kind of be used in conjunction with shift number 1, or you can take it a step further and add a liver supporting food or a tea or a beverage every single day that fits into your lifestyle, isn't super difficult, and just helps support your liver. For you, if you're focused on hydration, you can actually choose to just do a lemon water in the morning before you have anything else. Helps to flush the liver, helps to flush out toxins from the body. So what happens is overnight, the liver is working overtime. It's helping, it doesn't have to digest anything. It's preparing. And then in the morning, oftentimes we go to coffee and cream, which the liver then has to process the caffeine and the fat from the coffee. Like I said before, the liver is involved in digestion. It creates bile that breaks down fat, which gets stored in the gallbladder. If you don't have a gallbladder, this is also something that's really important for you as well as liver support. But maybe you can add a fresh lemon water in, maybe a dandelion or milk thistle tea. These are both liver supporting herbs. Adding in, another leafy green. All of these things can be really supportive for the liver and not be overwhelming. Shift number 3, eating in a sense of calm. And every meal for me was an internal battle, an internal uproar, absolute chaos of, will I end up in a flare, whether it be a gut flare, a pain flare, a migraine flare. And eating was really stressful, especially with mast cell activation and having too much histamine. And I remember working with my own health coach, and she told me that she just stopped worrying about it and just started eating the foods that contain histamine. And I was like, seems a little wild to me, seems a little reckless. I don't think I'm there yet. So I maintained the low histamine thing for a little bit until I finally said, screw it, this shit's for the birds, and just began to eat the foods that I knew were healthy for me, but I've been restricting for so long. And I'll be honest with you, over time, things began to improve. My gut health improved, mast cell flares reduced, histamine intolerance is not terrible. I do not have to take an antihistamine every day to fend off migraine. And the body begins to heal because you're supporting it with nourishing foods. And this can be really crazy for some people. And if you have a condition like mast cell activation, I highly recommend that you talk to your doctor. This is not medical advice. This is for informational purposes only. But if you have any questions about that, you can talk to your doctor, or you can message me about my experience personally. But just stop fearing food in general. And what this does is it calms down the nervous system, because when we live in a heightened state of stress and we're constantly worried, even if it's in our subconscious mind, everything's in an uproar, and then we don't digest as well and inflammation stays high. So this is multifactorial, and just calming things around food is huge. Another thing that can be huge, especially for gut health and gut symptoms, is eating more slowly, all right? Chewing our food thoroughly until it's that like soft, nasty ball in our mouth. Maybe you don't want to chew it that much, but a lot of us take a couple bites and swallow, and we end up with these big chunks of food in our digestive system, and it makes it very challenging on the digestive tract, especially if we've got something like low hydrochloric acid, okay? So chewing the food, slowing down, taking a moment of gratitude for the food that we have, or even bringing in some awareness, like where did my food come from? These practices of slowing down and being present are really helpful when it comes to nourishing our body. So you can pick one of those and insert that into your shift for calm. Lean into some of these shifts. You might experience less anxiety around food, which can actually lead to less bloating, less gas, less GI discomfort and dysfunction. It can lead to more confidence around food, more enjoyment around food. We're humans, we eat a lot, and enjoying food is just as important almost as the actual food that we eat. And also cultivating a sense of knowing that you're nourishing your body. Understanding that you are taking steps to nourish your body, and also cultivating the belief that the body can heal is so important and so valuable on your journey, because you can do all the right things, but if you don't develop those beliefs, then it can make it very challenging to actually see forward progress. We can end up self-sabotaging. Things end up being harder, feeling harder than they actually are. With that being said, stick around for the next video. We are actually going to talk about common myths and mistakes when it comes to nutrition and healing. But I hope this video brought you a lot of clarity, a lot of calm, a lot of peace, and you're really able to settle in and know that you can, regardless of where you're at now, you can change your relationship with food, and you can use it to your advantage on your journey. So with that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will catch you on the next one.